3 p.m. on Saturday again. And trust me, when I come to this particular topic, I wish that I have a WeChat and a Boom so I can fly across the screen and getting you entertained. Because our topic is audit horror stories. We do have a lot of horror stories. It is not a made-up story. It's literally stories throughout the past 30-some years that we have experienced or our client had experienced. So this whole webinars I am doing, I introduce you the knowledge, then I give you the story. And like I said, none of those stories is really made up. It is true story. And in the history of practice that we see or our client experienced. All right. Before we dive into the horror stories to get you so scared and you cannot sleep, and let's just look at our website. This one will bring you good sound sleep. And if you're not too bored, on this website, you'll find how to become our client button. It's called On Board with Us. Then, of course, you can make appointment with us right there on that screen. And you can choose who you want to talk to, and we'll come to talk to you, and we'll come to resolve your issue. The other thing I want to show you quickly is our YouTube channel. This is what our YouTube channel looks like. We have a round logo, and you go find it. You go YouTube, Community CPA, you'll find us. And in our channel, we are not one of those channels who paid a lot of money to get popularity, views on the channel. Our channel is literally coming from people who are one by one and introducing their friends to know us. So we have close to 7,000 subscribers, and we have over 1,000 videos. I want to say over 1,000, it's probably 2,000, because we started that from March 23rd of 2020. So every week we have 4 videos come out. So 4 videos, but 2 content, and 2 of the videos are in Spanish and also in Chinese. So we actually translate our webinar. We don't use AI to translate our webinar. Back in 2020, AI is not that powerful yet. In today's world, you could use AI to translate, like Elon Musk's, YouTube videos. If you find him, it's AI, it's not him. So those are possible, but in our small world, we're real people. So whoever you see on the screen talking is real people, is real time, is their real emotion display. So we want everything to be as close to the reality, face to face, as possible. That's why we put out these videos so you can really get to know us. And when you have questions, you can go onto our website to engage us for professional service. I wrote 2 books. I have 2 more to come, but the other 2 was really kind of, it has issues to deliver those 2 books because the economy is just not stable enough that for anybody to write a book about expansion. The whole country is going into isolation. You can imagine that when a business entity talking about expansion, that could be very much limited. So with those kind of contradicting situation from a enterprise to the country overall policy, it made it hard to have the 3rd book, which is Appointment with Ying, at 2 p.m., how to expand your business for that one to be born. And the number 4 is 6 p.m., how to retire from your business. Just so easy, right? That one got to be a piece of cake. If you want to retire, you retire. So that's the freedom. That's American dream. All right, here. This is an event that is coming up on November 15. November 15, 2025 is a Saturday. Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit is a gathering, is a conference opened up for immigrant business owners. So if you don't know about the structures and how to do business in U.S., or if you have a successful business but you want to be more affiliated with people who are really thinking and caring and supporting you, then you come to Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit. It's not new. And it is already 18 years old event. So this event has been attended by governors, high-ranking officials. So it is not an event, it's not a political event at all, but it is from time to time, from the first time it had IES till today, it is always being used as a platform for people to get connected, for people to understand the economy and how we can support each other within this ecosystem, right? So that there is a barcode, and please do, join the event. $70 for a registration fee, and if you can donate more, IES is 100% nonprofit organization. So we relying on donations. We are not like Turning Point USA, get $84 million donations at a time, and our donation average is about $500. So it is a grassroots activities. So we would like you to look at IES, decide to be part of it. No responsibility disclaimer, as always. You want to take the information with a grain of salt. So don't just take it blindly, and see whether it fit you and use it from there. Now, audit nightmares. Audit nightmares, and as soon as you say audit, it is a nightmare, right? So we don't need to have a Halloween. We can just have ice or audit. That would already a real Halloween displays every day anyway, right? So, but what, for small business owners, a lot of times when people go, oh, I got audited, we sometimes get calls from, small business owners, and they come to us for help. So they pick up the phone and goes, oh, yeah, can I talk to your CPA? Oh, yes, we're here. I got audited. So that's the first thing out of their mouth. So, but audit is so widespread. So what are you talking about? Is it federal audit? And if it is federal audit, it is IRS, or it is DOL, or it's Treasury. And to name a few, they all do audit. Is it a state audit, workforce, sales tax, withholding, income tax? Name a few. There's so many audit, right? So if you are so unlucky getting audited left and right, and the left and right is not even exaggerating, it's actually left and right, up and down, and every angle you look at, there can be an audit. So of course, the local government also can do audit, like city, state, county, they can do audit. But most likely you'll be facing IRS and the state when you talk about audit. So it is truly a nightmare. So government compliance function is reflected on the audit. That's how they make sure that people are doing the right thing. So of course, you say that, oh, Ying, we're not worried about government audit anymore. Oh, really? Okay. So one of the clients said that there's no more government audit as long as they shut down. Oh, that's so true, right? So it's so true. They shut down, so you don't have audit. But that doesn't mean they don't come back to audit you. Although, we're in the marathon and trying to figure out whether we're going to shut down for 35 days and beat our record from last time, Trump's first term president. If he doesn't beat on the second one, shame on him. It need to be beating that 35 days. It's too short. 3 months and a half might be more appropriate, right? So, so the IRS income tax audit is a detailed review of your business financial record and tax return they want to make sure that you're actually reporting your tax properly. If they don't do compliance review, they are people who are not doing tax properly. Believe it or not, we even have people calling us, they're big business. I mean, the business owner will say that I never filed taxes with the real number. Oh my God, how can you go that way? That is where these compliance audit has to be there. It's not because you are the bad apple, it's because there are bad apples out there, right? So audit may cover 1 year taxes, but also can cover more. So if you're under criminal investigation, there's no limit. But if you're just a regular citizen got audited, and then you have 3 years to look after, So normally the income tax audit from IRS does not trigger you to go to jail. And unless they are already doing criminal investigation, you would know you are being criminally investigated, because when you receive the audit notice, it's actually not coming from the local federal office. It's coming from FBI or coming from Criminal Investigation Division of IRS, so you clearly know. And by the way, it is your right to know that what kind of ghost you're dealing with, because when a trick or treat coming to your door, and you open the door and you see those little kiddos, and they dress up on certain creatures, right? They pretend to be what that is. So same thing, and in the IRS audit, when you just blindly getting audited and you don't know where that come from, you don't know why that is, it is your right to ask. You can ask, why am I getting audited? They will tell you. They tell you that, we had a new initiative. Right now we're looking at all the partnership tax return, so you're being selected. That's an answer. Or, we're doing special investigation due to some lead we received from other audit or from other criminal conduct. That's a lead. That is understanding. So it is your right to check that out. You don't have to be just so secretively scared, don't know which little ghost you're dealing with, and you can just ask why you are being audited. Okay? And then of course, often people will say things, our small business owner will say things that, I know I'm getting audited because I claimed 3 years business loss. Are you kidding me? 3 years business loss is a reason for you to be audited? Absolutely not. There are big business out there have never reported a gain. Okay? And you may driving their cars and you may using their platform to buy things, but it is not 3 years. But what it is how you handle your books and records. Obviously IRS could go to Amazon to audit Amazon. But they have books record in place. They have thousands of accountants in their back office, so they can fix that. They can produce that. As a small business owner, you need to get your own, you get your own records in place and making sure that you can support yourself when someone is calling for backup. So why is small business getting audited more? Not because your candy is delicious, so they come to trick or treat you. So it is because small business are the easiest low-hanging fruits for IRS. When they go in, they find your problem quicker, they know your problem, and so they come to you, right? So it's very simple. If you got an audit team going and you audit, you get no. You didn't really collect any new taxes, that doesn't even make any sense. So obviously that operation wants to get a lot of money collected. So, they would come to small business. It's just logical. It's logical. And the small business also are the people most likely didn't hire professional accountant to do their work. They just didn't do it. They didn't know they should do it. All kind of excuse. I have, in the past, I even have client would say things like, I don't speak English. That's why I didn't understand. That's why I did what I did. So not because of right now, President Trump is the president. No, not because of that. I have always been telling our small business owner that just don't use language as a reason. Don't even try to go there because you are doing business in U.S. And United States of America official language is English, not Spanish, not Chinese. So for someone who can speak Spanish to you, to provide professional service to you, that is such a plus already. But you don't expect the government trying to understand you in a different language. So that could be used to against you. Just because you don't know the language is not a reason you don't do it right. So don't even try to go there. Know that you're playing in the field where everyone is playing as well. So language is not an excuse, and just making sure that as a small business, and we do our best. We do our best to not be picked by the government. And today is more important than yesterday. Definitely. So the IRS is looking at inconsistency, unusual data on your books. So you want to be careful. And high deductible related to income. This is more like, oh yeah, I have a huge loss. If you don't even have that kind of money that you saved, how could you have a loss? Or if you did not borrow that much money, how did you have the loss? So when you have a loss, you must have money that put in. Either you borrow the money or is your own, right? So those are the things IRS is considering. Of course, unreported income. Do you report all the income? They could be sitting in your restaurant and, watching how many cash payment went in. Then they can turn themselves in, goes, I am from government. I want to see whether you report those cash income or not. So it's not like unheard of. This is not me making up scary stories to you. These are happened so many times already. It is not even new. And every time when the state government come to audit you for sales tax, you bet they're sitting in your place watching you. They want to make sure that you report all the income. So you report all the sales tax. And if they say you didn't, they're going to report you to the income tax area. So you get audit left and right, up and down, everywhere you can find, then they can find you. So those are the things, making sure that you're mindful, okay? Having a little scare, like scared of the ghost, having a little scare would help you to jump up, because when you jump up and you are having action. So I don't think getting scared and jump up is totally unnecessary in business. So you want to make sure that you are alert, you're vigilant, and you are not going to be taken advantage of, and you are protecting your own interest, okay? Cash-heavy operation is especially important. Try to be really vigilant about how you report. So Halloween do not need to be happen to your business, all right? All right, so the type of IRS audit, I want to just make a quick mention here, because a lot of times our folks, mistreating some spam letters as the notice from IRS. So there is a 3 type of audit. Correspondence audit, which is really just a mailing. They mail you saying that you get audited. They want you to produce certain backup for certain item they're looking at on your tax return, right? Or you get a local office letter saying that, hey, come to see me at IRS at 8 a.m. on this day. So that is office audit, compliance audit. You normally would go to compliance office in the federal building. Field audit are different. Field audit, the auditors are actually paid to come out of their office and come into your site. So if you are claiming a manufacturing tax return and then has a lot of things that they felt like is not reasonable, they would just knock your door at your factory address. If you put your home address on your tax return saying that you have a food factory there, then they will be at your home. So they will be going by that tax return to know where to get you, right? So these are the 3 major audit. Then the last one, it is what we call the line-by-line examination. This is rare. This is not common. And what they do is they're actually reviewing your every item on the tax return. So they begin with your tax return. They end with all of the possible audit that you're going to face. So usually, and this is more like in the fraud case. So they had a reason. Maybe they think you're dealing with drugs, right? So they want to make sure that you don't have that kind of cash flow to have that money in your bank account. and you don't have the business reason to have so much money coming through. So with that, it will be a line-by-line examination. It's not simply an audit. So with that, you kind of know when you face an audit, is a letter coming to you. And even if it is a on-site, then you will be getting a letter as well. And then on-site, they have a badge to show you, so you know that's real. So with that said, I want you to relax. And when we deal with the government, I still say that the IRS is a very reasonable federal agency. And when I tell our client that if you have to owe anybody money, the best place to owe money is IRS because they are civilized. They have you apply for installment, and as long as you follow the installment, they don't bother you. And if you didn't pay and you just couldn't pay 10 years later, they forgive you, So, man, IRS is so nice. So you should not be thinking of them as your little ghost and it got you scared. So you just want to make sure that you work with their framework, their rules. If there's anything that making you scared and you're not sure what to do, you have Community CPA. We understand. We understand the IRS audit, and we have done that a million times over. So this whole practice, when we this past 28 years, and what we have seen is a lot of misunderstanding between the IRS and the taxpayers. One horror story I tell you, a client, a audit client, we were handling their audit, and the IRS conclusion letter comes in, and it's denied all the cost of goods sold. That's a lot of money, because if you deny the cost of goods sold, then they owe a lot of money. So I look at what was denied. I didn't quite understand why it was denied, because we submitted all the backup. So the cost of goods sold, everything is laid down properly. So I went to the manager of the auditor, and after you conclude the audit, if you don't agree with that, you can go to the manager to talk about that. So I went to the manager and I asked, why are we denying all the cost of goods sold? You guess what was the answer? You could not imagine, because the cost of goods sold bears a different name on the receipt. So our client actually changed his name. He's a sole proprietor. So he changed his name from the Vietnamese name to American name. So on the receipt, it shows the Vietnamese name. So we only see the American name, and we did not even know he has a Vietnamese name, because he already a citizen for so many years. But the place he buys supply from is operated by the same people from the same country. It's a Vietnamese business. So they call each other on their nickname, if you call. It's not nickname, it's their real name when they were in Vietnam. So all of the receipt bears somebody else's name, looks like. So we have to, we understood, so we have him produce the citizenship document, shows the old name and new name, and then give to the auditor. Of course, it's not a problem, right? So this is where I say that you just, when you work with the IRS auditors, as long as you have the proof, as long as you understand why they deny you for what, and there are times you have to say, yes, I'm wrong, you're right. But a lot of time we see it is just that small misunderstanding. So with this one, it was so impressive because it's a huge amount. So it's all because of that. So that impresses you too, right? So you're like, oh yeah, makes sense. That happens. But can you imagine if you're just so scared, thinking the ghost is coming to catch you and you're just running? My client could just very well be owing that money for 10 years to pay because he doesn't have it. And he didn't know why IRS auditor did this, even though he gave all the receipt. So this is where, a professional help or a thorough thinking of why, a brave challenge to IRS auditors or managers say, why, explain to me, and that helps, right? All right. So that's a happy Halloween moment. Like I promised you, I'm giving you real stories. All right. How did you know if you're getting audited? And this is like a spooky time. Yeah, you know you're being audited because the government do not scare you by sending you a scary email. They don't. They don't send you a scary email. And they don't call you with, ghost is coming, ho, 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 happy Halloween. No, they don't do that. And they don't show up tricks or treats at your front door, and they don't handcuff you, and because they suspect you cheat on taxes. So the government don't do stuff like that. Whether the federal and the state, they're the same. They don't do stuff like that. If you are greeted by a ghost, don't panic. Remember, there are also good ghosts out there. Not all the ghosts are evil, right? And normally, if you get audited, you get a letter to tell you that you're being audited, okay? Or when you review your car license, the folks will say no because you do taxes dollars. That you know you are being notified and audited. Or the contractor license got revoked, or your professional license was unable to review, and then you suddenly realize you're on your bank account and some government and just took all your money away. So that is how you realize that you have a case with the government. So, but you don't get surprised like trick or treat. No, it doesn't work that way. All right, things that you notice, will include when IRS send an official notice, it will have the years that they want to see. They cannot just say, all the years, as soon from you were born to all the way today. No, it's 3 years normally, and a specific item they want to audit. Sometimes the IRS will tell you that Schedule C. They will say something like that, or they simply give you a list of things that they want to look at. They also give you a timeline. And important thing is that always confirm that your audit notice is legitimate. You know how easy to create something look real nowadays? You got it. You got it, right? So don't fall for something out of the email or in the letter looks like IRS. And I do have one time, not too long ago, a taxpayer brought me a letter from IRS saying that they're being audited. The only way I felt like that was a spam because it has this IRS logo color is a little off. IRS logo color is dark, kind of blue. I cannot describe it, but I know it must have this color code to be specific that color. But the letter came up with a little light. So, same logo, but the color is light. And also in the letter, it doesn't talk about, you're being audited, we're going to meet. It says that you're being audited, and here is the amount if you pay in full, and then the audit will be closed. So you better pay that within 30 days or 15 days, I don't remember. So it is not a big amount either. It is calling for 3 years audit, but it's only about a couple $1,000 they need to pay, then the case will be closed. But you think IRS would do that? No. But clients don't know what that is because they only felt like it is IRS letter. So with those kind of things, and make sure you call that number on the letter. And you call that number on the letter to figure out whether it is really going into IRS, right? So those are the things. And don't just get spooked and without knowing how to react to it. And really, be brave. Little ghost. So what? You just go dig it in. Of course, when you get the letter saying that, you're being audited, one of the biggest decisions you need to make, it is not whether you're going to answer the auditor or not. You have to answer. That's not a decision, okay? But the decision you need to make is whether you're going to deal it yourself or you're going to look for representation. It is important because if you do it yourself in the very beginning, you already give a lot of things to the auditor. then later on you don't like it, and then you go for representation. That is not a good way to handle the audit, because the audit need to be handled from beginning to the end really by whoever, you or the representative, so that way what was said to the auditor and what was given to the auditor can be properly recorded. But of course, you could be a superhuman, know everything you know, and you know how to deal with the auditor. If the result is no good, and you will look for representation. That is the second step. When the result is no good, when you look for a representation, just know that your representative can no longer give new information to the auditor's manager. Normally, whatever you give, that is what that is. So you really cannot go, oh yeah, my client forgot to give this. They don't have to accept it. But I do know in practice, some appeal officers are very kind. They allow you to put in the new information. Normally, they do not allow that. So, you run the risk of giving bad information, then having bad result. Even if your representative could deal with the managers, deal with the appeals, but they could not change the nature of what is already there, because all the backup is already what it is, right? So that is something you want to keenly aware, just so don't make that decision unknowingly, and don't make that decision lightly. I know it is going to cost money, but it is better to cost money to get it done right than not costing you money, then you pay a lot more to the government, right? Of course, IRS really likes tips. So if you give them tips, just like treats, like the treats you give to the little kid, they like it too. So if they can charge you more and you don't you don't debate on that, then that's fine. So it is really how you like to work it out, with this situation. All right. So the gathering document, like when you got audited and you decided to handle it yourself, then you want to put together the audit document. And I want to tell you a horror story right here. It's not a fake one, it's a real one. It's related to the documentation. We have a client who come to us because they got audited. The previous accountant already handled their audit, but the previous accountant had given all the original document to IRS. According to the previous accountant, he gave all the original document to IRS. So IRS lost it. This is a previous accountant claimed, right? So when we take over the case, there's no more document because client don't have it and IRS don't have it. And we were in the limbo because if there's no document, how am I going to prove I have what expenses I spent? So I have to we actually worked with the auditor and to look for the document in the IRS office. The IRS office also, kind of have people coming in and go. So the auditor who audited the company with the previous accountant is no longer working in the IRS. So it was a huge mess. And in practice, what we do is we never need to give original document to IRS. You need to organize your document, get them labeled, get them calculated, make it clean and neat for the auditor. So they don't have to open your shoebox trying to figure out what is your expense. You can bring the shoebox to the auditor. It's not their responsibility to sort your shoebox. But occasionally, out of blue, once in the blue moon, you will have this nice auditor. They think for you. They're going to sit there doing your shoebox. But I don't see a lot of that. It's not like they don't have any work to do. And the government shut down, they don't even get paid. Okay? So why would they want to dig your shoebox? So you are the one really sorting it out, make photocopy, and give the copy to the IRS, so you will never run into a situation where your document is completely lost. Okay? So in that particular case, that Halloween story, what we did is we actually worked with the new auditor and explained the situation. So the new auditors, Instead of having all the receipt, the new auditor asking for selective receipt. So we have our client go to Home Depot and go to whatever store that is, just look for those receipts. So provide selectively. That is a good auditor, I'm telling you. The auditor don't have to allow you to do that. They can just deny everything you claim, tell you that you're going to pay income tax on all the profit, all the income you got, you can't deduct anything. So with that said, gathering document and knowing how to protect yourself by giving copies to the IRS, not original, that would help you a lot. And losing document is not something unheard of. And this is a real story too. We have a grocery store got audited, and the backup copy, we went to appeal because it didn't work with the auditor, so we went to appeal. And at that time, our office in Des Moines, Iowa, so our appeal office in Omaha, Nebraska. So you can imagine that we need to drive over there. And we brought in to the appeal office 3 boxes of document because it's appeal office, so we want to show them the document. 3 boxes, and we brought it in. Luckily, these are our organized document as our copy. It's the copy we have, and we have original, but we bought these 3 boxes to the appeal. We give the appeal office those boxes. Guess what? They lost it. We literally went another round to Omaha, Nebraska, to drop off another set. And the worst part of this story is the client we're helping, and really this audit lasted for 8 years. 8 years. 8 years for 3 years audit, and original assessment was $1 million taxes to pay. So by the time we finished the appeals and everything, the client get $500-some refund. So there is no tax payment. And you probably goes, oh, Ying, you did a good job, congratulations. Oh, don't congratulate me. Because our client did not pay a penny to us and filed bankruptcy on us. Do you like that story? That's a real horror story for practitioners like me, right? So we had about $80,000 bills supposed to be paid. And the business owner, guess what? I still see them around. And they filed bankruptcy. We have, no recourse when bankruptcy is filed, so we lost it. So this whole nightmare we went through for 8 years and yield 0 income for the firm. But we learn our lessons too. So we don't really do audit, just dive into the audit without consider how we get paid. So, if we ever have, clients tell us that, no, you do audit first, I'll pay you later, then I guess we just don't do it. Because we have lost $80,000 on such a good audit, from $1 million tax due down to $500-some refund. And the document was lost at appeal, and we have to reproduce, going there again. So all of these drama we gone through, and we rewarded with a bankruptcy notice, right? But in U.S., our president had 6-time bankruptcy, so everybody deserved to have a break. And I totally okay with the bankruptcy notice served, so we don't charge people, and we write off our invoice. So that's a horror story for real, right? Not so horror for our client because he got really saved. But imagine this audit last for 8 years is not good for their business either. That's why they filed bankruptcy. So it is not about, I don't believe that they had $80,000 just don't want to pay us. They really just, with this audit, it created a lot of drama in their own life. 8 years later, they don't survive. They cannot survive the business, so, nobody get paid. The only thing is IRS also didn't get paid for $1 million tax due either. So we're not even, but it is a story. All right, pre-audit preparation. This is more related to before you go into audit, really make sure that you prepare. We do not go into your audit without knowing everything about you. That is how we practice here. So when you get audited, and our team, we actually sit down to understand your book. If you never did a book, we come up with a book. If you did a book but was not done properly, we fix it first. So when we go to IRS to face the audit, we know what the auditor is going to ask. We know what they're trying to look at, and we know how to explain what happened to your tax return. So we have very good track record in terms of doing audit. So we want you to know that even though audit is a Halloween moment, but it doesn't need to be a bad, sad ending. It is a happy ending, right? You can make it right. You can have this trick or treats and just, with no tricks, just treats, right? All right. Responding to audit. Responding to audit. So when you get audited, which is a letter to you, it's a correspondence audit, you just send a letter back. But when they ask you to go to the office, you go in person, right? So when you work with the auditors, I always tell our client that it's not that we're trying to make auditor kind of on our opposite side. They're enemies and they're ghosts and they're Halloween, generators. No. What you want to make sure that you do not giving more leads when you are with the auditor. The auditors are just normal people like you and me. I could be an auditor too if I apply for a job at IRS, right? So normal people. So we, do small talks. So if you're auditor, if you are coming in to sit down with the auditor to do your tax return, you claim head of household, then when you talk about your kids, your spouse, you talk like as if, the other person is still around you all the time, then your tax return doesn't reflect that kind of situation, right? So there's a lot of lead. The auditor are trained to fish out what you say and lead to the decision on what to audit you, how to audit you, how much to charge you, all of this information. So I say that if you are meeting with the auditors, just stick with the question they ask you. Don't expand. Don't offer more. Don't try to be friendly. There is nothing to be so friendly about because you're doing business. If you really respect the auditor, after you finish the audit, you can go to the office to say thank you to her or get to know her, whatever you want to do. But when you do audit, it's strictly business. And don't try to act like you're a criminal, right? Because the more you trying to please the auditor, the more they think that you have something to hide. And don't do that. All right. So that's why I put on there, avoid casual comments and speculations. They can open up new lines of questioning. So let your attorney and let your CPA communicate for you. So you don't have to even show your face if you hired a representative to represent you in front of IRS, right? So these are all real ghost stories that I have. So you expanded audit, yeah, they can audit you 1040, then see you have K1, then lead that into your S corporation, and in the S corporation, they see you have 401k plan, then that lead into DOL audit on your plan. My goodness, that line can go forever. So just always try to contain it. Right? When you got audited and figure out a way to contain it. If you don't know how to contain it, then you are not good at audit. Find someone to help you, right? And the reasonable assumptions, which is used to calculate income, this is one of the audit in early years when it's almost like when I just started working in the public accounting. So one of my first few audit, what happened is the auditor couldn't find anything. So the auditor made a reasonable estimate of that business owner and charged them additional income. Just assume that they got income they didn't report. So this reasonable estimate was quite a popular ways to charge people additional taxes. So what they do is in one of the calculations, they even calculated the family pleasure trip. Oh, you must go for vacation every year. That would be $5,000, and that I will add $5,000 to the income. I was so against it because I know how of a workaholic I am myself. I don't go for vacation. I never really have something called vacation. It is always if I have to go for a conference, and by the way, maybe I have a good dinner somewhere, but never really take a time off to somewhere to lock myself up to enjoy emptiness. I never do that. So to say that, oh, you must have a vacation, you should be paying taxes on that, not reasonable. Not with a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs, because these people haven't even learned in their life how to enjoy life. They only know how to escape the war, coming over here, work so hard to make a living, and that's all they do. They haven't really lived to a place where we can see them sitting down, skip some wines and having some nice chat and light up a candle, have a bath. Are you kidding me? Those are just not something this group of entrepreneurs are even knowing how to do. So with that, this estimate, the reasonable assumption kind of audit, I do not agree. I do not agree. If I see one, I fight tooth and nails to get it off because it's not reasonable. Then request of receipt is a thing. You must have receipt. And the tracking who is at fault, prepare penalty. So when you get audited, sometimes your mistake is not yours. Sometimes your mistake is the preparer's mistake. If that is the case, and you still have to pay what you didn't pay, okay? But the IRS will go another way to charge the preparer for penalty. But IRS may not tell you. They don't come over and tell you that I'm going to charge the preparers for penalty. No. But that's their responsibility to make sure that people who does your taxes actually know what they're doing. So they will charge the preparer penalty to the preparer, or they can even launch the preparer into criminal investigation. And I have met a gentleman so many years ago, and he started a tax practice. So he came to us, help him to set it up. So apply for IPT numbers and all of these things. So we did all of that. We helped him, and maybe 4 or 5 years later, one day he came to my office. He asked me whether I still remember him. Of course I do, because he's a very good-looking, handsome African-American gentleman. He looks better than Obama, like good-looking, okay? Yeah. And he came over. I remember him. So he said that he's going to jail. He's going to jail because his practice was criminally investigated. And he was filing fraudulent tax return for people to get child tax credit, earned income tax credit. I won't go whether it's his fault or whatever, but that was the criminal investigation. So that's how I learned, people, the tax preparers, they do go to jail. And Donald Trump's accountant went to jail, right? Did you know that? So, those tax preparers, that would be a real ghost story for them if they did something wrong and are being investigated, and the result is going to jail. Understanding audit results. So you could be no change. We have quite number of no changes. So those are typically our clients. We do accounting and we do all the services for them. If they get audited, our back is very straight and we feel good and it will come through as no change. So agreed changes, like more of you agree and auditor agree, you come up with an agreement. Disagreed changes will go to the first step, you go to the manager. The second step, you go to appeals. Then the third step, you go to tax court. But let me tell you, up to the appeals, your case is still private case. So nobody really get involved with your case other than your representative, yourself, and the auditor, and also the appeal officer. But as soon as you go to tax court case, it's published. So people will know what you are fighting with. So if you don't want to become famous that way, and of course you don't want to go to tax court. So tax court is where that all of your debate, it will be in court order. People can find it. All right. So that is so much about understanding your audit. Of course, the post-audit options, after you did audit, after you got agreed a amount, then you can actually pay for the balance, right? If you cannot pay, you can set up installment. If you set up installment and 10 years passed, you still didn't get that paid, then that debt will go away. IRS will forgive you, if you drag on for 10 years. And if you don't agree, of course, like I said, you would go to the auditor supervisor to discuss. Like the case I tell you, I went to the manager to figure out why cost of goods sold wasn't really, allowed, then figure out why, right? Or you can go to appeals. And like what I told you, I carry the boxes all the way to Nebraska, Omaha, and go to the federal building and to meet with appeal officers. Then, of course, if you cannot agree with appeal officers and you still want to fight, and then you go to tax court. So these are kind of the steps that you have. All right. So with that said, and I say that I told you a couple of stories already with the tax audit. And what happens if you don't know your right doing the audit? Then you'll be like this little gentle person, you'll be dead. You have to know your right doing the audit. I picked a couple ones for you because I know those are really, really important. So you have a right for professional help, so you can get your representative anytime. And you can have them represent you so you can hide your face and let them deal with IRS. You have that right. You have right to privacy. Nobody should know how you get audited, why you get audited. You don't have to walk around the street wondering you have to tell people, I am being audited. No, that's a private thing. And the auditors don't go home to talk about your audit, so they also got trained to know that it's private. And you have right to representation, like I said, right to appeal. You can dispute the finding through the administrative or judicial processes. So there is a process. That's why I always say that, in terms of the government process, U.S. have the best process for the taxpayers. I say this to you because I lived in other country. I know how the process goes. So here we have a very good process. Of course, the condition is that the government don't shut down, right? Right to know why. You see, I put this one on here because I want you to know that don't be shy to ask, hey, why am I getting audited? Just ask that question. Don't be shy. That's your right. Okay? All right. So this is the happy face I want to show you. The government must audit you. That equals to Halloween babies must eat candies. So there is no way out. The only way in. So as long as babies like candies, and the government need to audit. All right. The best ways to stay away from the audit. Let me cover this really quickly. This is my last slide for this spooky session. And generally speaking, there is no way, right? There's no way to 100% stay out of an audit unless the government is shut down, right? Like right now, you won't get an audit dated today, okay? If someone promises you that you will not be audited, it is an empty promise. Don't believe in that. There are ways, though, to minimize your chance to be audited. Number one, stay legally compliant with governmental procedures and requirements. Just be really aware of that. I'm not trying to say that, oh, yeah, Ying, you just, what you say makes no sense. I have to do business. Trust me, if you follow the government rules and regulations to do your business, maybe you make less money in the very beginning compared to other people who doesn't follow the rule doing under-table deals. You make less, but you last long. Unless your objective is just to do one-day business and run. Otherwise, you want to put in what need to be there. Business is something that you want it to last long, am I right? And if you do it wrong in the short time, and you'll be closed down. I promise you. I have seen too many. It is not I'm trying to spook you because it's Halloween. It's post-Halloween. So we're survived. But still, stay in compliance is really important. Sometimes our folks don't really know they need to stay in compliance for what they do. But if that is the case, now you hear me saying that, maybe you should be coming to Community CPA, ask that question. I am doing this business. What the government compliance requirement that I may need to know, maybe I didn't know. Ask that question. Oh yeah, ask AI, Ask AI, I'm in this business. What are the compliance requirements from the state government, federal government, local government? Make a list for me. Do that. Understand the computerized system checkpoints. So this is something that I always tell folks. When you are in business, you need to understand what system you use. That is already become the checkpoint for government. Example, if you use POS system, the POS system already reporting your monthly income, your fee that you collected to IRS regardless. So those are checkpoints. Those are the things IRS already have information like 1089K, right? And they already have that information. And in that 1089K, if you are a restaurant, you already put in tips and also sales tax and also the sales all in 1099K because you charge that total. That total include your sales and your sales tax and your tips, right? When you file your taxes, you don't take away the sales and the tips from your total. You need to put the total on your taxes, reduce them on the bottom. So the checkpoint can match because IRS has your total, folks. All right? So those are the things. Understand the computerized system checkpoints. Clear and accurate bookkeeping. So important. And I know a lot of automation is already coming in. Bookkeeping going to be easier with time. But if you don't have time to study these automations, if you don't have time to come up with a clear, accurate books, you need to hire someone. Because if you don't, the loss is on you. Not only you deduct less, most of the time when I see people don't do accounting, it's not like they actually underreported income. No, if they do good reporting, if they do good accounting, they will realize they overreported their income. So this is where you think you are saving something. No, you're losing a lot. Hire a professional to assist and apply money-saving techniques for your industry. It is endless. If you know our webinars, you go to our webinar to look for those endless opportunities. Like OBBBA right now is on the table, and this 870-some pages document has certain things that qualifies small business are benefited from. And if you just don't know, that's your loss, right? So really, you want to know, even though you don't really do it yourself. You want to know the buzzwords so you can talk to the preparer, have them do that for you. So make sure that you go to our videos. If you don't have time to study nothing, but you have time to run around, drive around, then just come into YouTube channel, look for Community CPA, and check OBBBA. What matters to small business. Just type in what you want. You'll find our video. And then, it's like I'm talking to you. Because our channel is really do-it-yourself channel. We're trying to teach you everything here so you can do it yourself. You don't have to pay money to find professional to help you. You can do it yourself if you learn it. So this is our list of partners right here. If you have any questions related to your audit, and we are here to help you. And my last slides here, this is the final ones, serve as a comprehensive, contact point for Community CPA, providing you the essential information so we open 6 days a week, 8:30 to 5:30, Monday to Saturday. And you can call our main number, 515-288-3188. And this number the real person will pick up this number for you from Monday to Saturday. So we open from 8:30 to 5:30. So during this time you call, we have a real, not a machine answering, not AI robot, it's us. Pick up the phone. So internally, we encourage our staff to make sure we don't drop any calls. So that is how reliable we are, and you can always contact us. And I hope you learned one thing or two. If you missed tricks or treat yesterday, then you have me today give you a more meaningful tricks and the treats. The tricks is know what you are having. The treats is you know how to deal with the tricks. I will talk to you soon.